You are about to receive something great in your life. The signs are already here. Something has been building. You may not be able to name it yet, but you have felt it. In the restlessness that keeps you awake. In the quiet pull towards something you cannot quite see. In the moments when your chest tightens for no apparent reason, and your soul leans forward, as if it already knows what the mind is still trying to figure out. You have been carrying this feeling for a while now. Maybe weeks, maybe months, maybe longer than you are willing to admit. And somewhere in the waiting, doubt has crept in. The kind of doubt that does not announce itself loudly. It moves quietly, like water under a door, until one day you look down and realize your floor is soaked. You have started to wonder if the things you hoped for are actually coming. You have started to question whether the signs you thought you were seeing were real, or simply the mind of someone who wants to believe, constructing meaning out of coincidence. There is a particular kind of loneliness that comes with this type of waiting. It is not the loneliness of being without people. It is the loneliness of carrying a hope so private, so tender, so essential to who you are becoming, that you cannot speak it aloud without fearing it will dissolve in the air between you and whoever is listening. So you carry it alone. You hold it in the dark. And you come to places like this one in the quiet hours, looking for something you cannot fully name but would recognize the moment it arrived. This video is not here to offer you empty reassurance. It is not here to tell you that everything will be fine in the soft, hollow way that leaves you feeling more alone than before. It is here to tell you something specific, something true, something that the most awakened part of you already recognizes the moment the words arrive. The signs are not coming. They are already here. They have been here, scattered across your days like breadcrumbs on a forest floor, waiting for the moment you would slow down enough to see them. The question was never whether the universe was communicating with you. The question was whether you were ready to receive what it has been saying. You are watching this right now. That is not an accident. Nothing about this moment is accidental. There is an intelligence operating beneath the surface of what appears to be your ordinary day. Beneath the algorithm that suggested this video, beneath the seemingly random sequence of events that led you to press play at this exact moment in your life. That intelligence is not indifferent to you. It has never been indifferent to you. And by the time this video ends, you will not just understand that intellectually, you will feel it, in the way that only truth lands, deep and irreversible, in the center of the chest. Something great is coming into your life. Not because the universe owes you ease and not because the waiting has been painless, but because you have been in preparation, whether you recognized it or not. And preparation always precedes arrival. Always, without exception. The farmer does not plant the seed and return the next morning expecting fruit. The musician does not practice one afternoon and perform the following evening. And the soul does not move through the kind of season you have been living and emerge without something extraordinary waiting on the other side of it. Stay here. What comes next will change the way you see everything that has already happened, everything that is happening now, and everything that is still on its way to you. The language only the soul understands. The universe has never been silent. The problem has never been that it stopped communicating. The problem, for most of us, is that we were trained from birth to trust only what we can measure, verify, and explain. And so we learn slowly and without realizing it, to stop listening to the channel through which the universe speaks most fluently. It does not speak in spreadsheets. It does not send certified letters or schedule formal appointments. It speaks in the frequency of your experience. It speaks through patterns that repeat just often enough to feel intentional. Through the stranger who says the exact phrase you needed to hear in a conversation you almost did not have. Through the number that appears on the clock at the precise moment you are asking a question inside your own mind. Through the deep, unreasonable sense of knowing that descends without invitation and refuses to leave. Most people call these moments coincidence and then they move on. They file them under the category of interesting but meaningless and return to the noise. But there is a different way of moving through the world, a different quality of attention, that does not dismiss these moments but holds them lightly, curiously, the way you would hold a compass when you are not yet sure which direction you are facing. The Hermetic principle of correspondence. one of the oldest navigational tools of the awakened mind, teaches that the outer world is always a mirror of the inner world. As within, so without. As above, so below. What this means, in the language of lived experience, is that the patterns appearing in your external reality are not separate from the movements happening inside your soul. They are reflections. They are responses. They are the universe's way of showing you in physical form what is already shifting in the invisible. When you begin to see your life through this lens, everything changes. The conversation that unsettled you becomes information. The door that closed becomes direction. The feeling in your gut that something is shifting, even when nothing around you has visibly shifted yet, becomes evidence, not fantasy. Consider how differently a skilled tracker moves through a forest compared to someone who does not know how to read the land. Both are in the same forest. Both have access to the same information. But one of them sees a broken branch and understands direction, notices disturbed soil and reads time, hears a particular silence and knows what it means. The other walks past all of it, seeing only trees. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is the quality and training of attention. You are learning to track, and the forest you are learning to read is the one your life has been building around you, sign by sign, pattern by pattern, for longer than you know. The language was always there. You are only now becoming fluent in it. You were not born knowing this language. Almost no one is. But you were born with the capacity to learn it. And the fact that you are here in this moment, asking these questions, that is not nothing. That is the first word of a fluency that, once begun, does not stop growing. The sacred geography of the waiting period. No one talks about what it actually feels like to be in the waiting period. There are plenty of inspirational phrases about trust and divine timing, but very few honest conversations about the specific texture of the experience, the way time seems to bend and stretch, the way your confidence erodes in slow increments, the way you begin to compose secret negotiations with yourself about how much longer you can hold on. The waiting period is not comfortable. It was never designed to be, and understanding why it is designed the way it is, and understanding its actual function, is the difference between suffering inside it and moving through it with something that resembles grace. Consider the seed. Before it becomes anything visible, before anyone walking past the soil would have any evidence that something alive exists beneath the surface, the seed is doing the most critical work of its entire existence. It is dissolving the structure it was given at birth. It is releasing the compact form it arrived in, surrendering its original shape entirely, because the shape it was given was not the shape it is meant to become. This dissolution, this letting go of form, is not failure. It is the necessary architecture of transformation. You are in that dissolution. The things that felt certain have shifted. The structures you counted on have changed shape. The identity you were maintaining, through habits, through relationships, through a particular vision of how your life was supposed to look, has been loosening its grip on you, whether you invited it to or not. And your mind, trained to interpret all loosening as loss, has been sounding alarms. But here is what the alarms cannot hear. Underground, in the dark, in the silence that looks like nothing from the outside, the most extraordinary preparation is occurring. The soul is being organized. The energetic alignment required for what is coming is being calibrated with a precision that no human mind could engineer from the surface. There is also something the waiting period does to the character that no shortcut can replicate. It builds a particular kind of depth, a particular quality of presence, that only comes from having been required to hold hope without evidence, to maintain direction without a visible destination, to trust the compass of your soul when every external indicator suggests you are lost. The people who have been through the long waiting and arrived on the other side carry something in them that cannot be manufactured or imitated. They carry a groundedness that comes from having been tested at their most essential level and not broken. You are being built into that kind of person right now, and what is coming needs you to be exactly that. The ancient Hermetic wisdom of rhythm teaches that the universe operates in cycles, that every tide goes out before it comes in, that every season of apparent emptiness is the precondition for an impossible fullness. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are in the underground phase of a cycle that is already completing itself. And the harvest does not ask the seed whether it is ready. It simply arrives when the preparation has been done. Synchronicity, as the universe's GPS. Carl Jung spent decades studying the moments that cannot be explained by conventional logic. The moments when the inner world and the outer world collide in a way that is too precise to be attributed to chance, yet too unusual to be explained by ordinary causation. He called these moments synchronicities. And what he found through years of clinical observation and personal experience was that they were not random. They were meaningful, they carried information, and they appeared with striking consistency at the exact moments when the psyche, the soul, was in the process of a significant transition. Think about that for a moment. These inexplicable collisions of inner and outer reality do not appear randomly across the fabric of life. They appear at thresholds. They appear when something is ending and something else is preparing to begin. They appear when the soul is being nudged in a direction it has been resisting, or confirmed in a direction it has been afraid to trust. If you have been experiencing an unusual concentration of synchronicities recently, numbers that keep appearing, names that surface in unexpected places, themes that repeat across separate and unrelated conversations, you are not imagining things. You are standing at a threshold. The universe is not being subtle because it wants to confuse you. It is being subtle because the deepest communications between the cosmos and the soul are always carried in the language of symbols, not statements. The law of correspondence, woven through every serious wisdom tradition that has ever existed, teaches that every outward sign has an inward correspondent. Every external pattern mirrors an internal one. So when you keep seeing the same number, or keep encountering the same theme, the question worth asking is not, what is the universe trying to tell me? But rather, what is already moving inside me that is generating these reflections? Jung documented case after case in which his patients experienced synchronicities at the precise moment their inner lives were undergoing a profound reorganization. A woman dreaming of a golden scarab, a symbol of rebirth in Egyptian tradition. At the exact moment, a golden scarab beetle appeared at the window during their session. The outer event mirroring the inner movement with a precision that defied every statistical probability. Jung did not call this magic. He called it the visible expression of a deeper order that underlies both psyche and matter, an order that, when you learn to read it, reveals that you have never been as alone or as directionless as fear would have you believe. The universe's navigation system does not override your free will. It does not force. It invites. It suggests. It places signposts on the road and waits with the patience of eternity for you to notice them. And the moment you begin to notice, the moment you shift from dismissing to attending, the frequency of signs increases. Because the universe, like any good communicator, speaks louder when it senses it is finally being heard. The restless soul, at the edge of its next chapter. There is a particular kind of inner turbulence that does not come from crisis or trauma. It comes from proximity to change. It is the feeling that lives just beneath restlessness. Not quite anxiety, not quite excitement, but something that sits in the body like an electrical charge with nowhere yet to discharge. You cannot settle. You cannot concentrate on the life that is right in front of you, because something in you is already reaching toward a life you have not yet stepped into. Most people, when they feel this, assume something is wrong. The spiritual community often adds to the confusion by presenting inner peace as the constant baseline of the awakened life, as if turbulence always means misalignment and stillness always means progress. But this is a profound misreading of the soul's actual rhythm. There are periods of stillness, and there are periods of accelerated interior motion, where the soul is reorganizing at a speed that the conscious mind can barely track, and the body, which always registers what the mind has not yet processed, responds with restlessness, insomnia, an inexplicable urgency that has no clear object. This is not disorder. This is the soul's proprioception, its ability to sense its own position in space, in time, in the trajectory of its own becoming. When the soul is near a threshold, it knows. It has always known before the mind caught up, and the physical and emotional turbulence you have been carrying is not a symptom of something broken. It is the sensation of something completing, and something new beginning to press against the walls of the life that currently contains you. Think of the moment just before a storm breaks. The air changes. Animals go still or begin to move in unusual patterns. The pressure shifts in ways the body registers before the sky makes any visible declaration. There is an electricity in the atmosphere that is neither the storm itself nor the calm before it. It is the announcement, the irreversible signal that something is arriving, and the world is already reorganizing itself to receive it. That is what your restlessness is. It is not the storm. It is the pressure change that tells you the storm is already forming, and the atmosphere of your life will never quite look the same after it passes through. The soul does not become restless without reason. It does not disrupt the surface of a life that is aligned with its deepest design. It disrupts when the container has become too small, when the next version of who you are is ready to emerge, and when the comfortable familiarity of who you have been is no longer the right fit for where you are going. Your restlessness is a compass, and right now, without question, it is pointing toward something real. The ordinary disguise of extraordinary messages. We have been conditioned to expect the extraordinary to look extraordinary. We wait for burning bushes, for unmistakable signs written across the sky, for life-altering moments that arrive with the full production of a film score behind them. And in this waiting, we walk past the actual messages every single day, because they have had the audacity to arrive in ordinary packaging. The universe is not theatrical. It is precise, and precision does not require drama. It requires only that the right thing reaches the right person at the right moment. And the delivery method is whatever is available, whatever is natural, whatever will not be blocked by the defenses of a mind that is too busy looking for the spectacular to notice the sacred. A song plays from a speaker in a cafe you almost did not enter. The lyric lands in your chest with the weight of a revelation. A friend mentions casually in the middle of an unrelated conversation something that answers a question you have been carrying for weeks without speaking aloud. You wake at 3 a.m. from a dream you cannot fully remember, but the feeling it left behind, a feeling of arrival, of confirmation, stays with you for days. These are not coincidences that happen to be emotionally resonant. These are the universe's precision instruments, calibrated to your specific frequency, delivered in formats your particular defenses cannot screen out. The messages that reach you are designed for you. They pass through the ordinary, so that the critical mind does not intercept them before they land where they are meant to land. The ancient wisdom embedded in Hermeticism teaches that the material world is a living text, that every physical experience carries a symbolic layer that speaks directly to the soul's current lesson. This does not mean that every cup of coffee is a mystical event. It means that within the fabric of your lived experience, certain threads carry extraordinary weight, and the ability to distinguish them, to feel the difference between noise and signal, is a faculty that sharpens with use. There is also a particular quality to the messages that come in ordinary disguise, a quality that, once you learn to recognize it, becomes unmistakable. It is the quality of resonance, not just emotional reaction, not just being moved or touched or briefly comforted, but the deeper sensation of recognition. The feeling that you have heard this before, in some language beneath language, in some place in you that predates the memories you can name. When that quality is present, pay attention. That resonance is the soul's fingerprint on the message, its way of saying, this one was sent for you. Receive it. Begin where you are. Begin with the things you noticed and immediately dismissed. Go back to those moments. Something was there. Something was trying to reach you. And now, with the particular quality of attention you are bringing right now, you are finally ready to hear what it was saying. Surrender as the most powerful act of alignment. There is an exhaustion that is specific to people who have been trying very hard for a very long time. It is different from ordinary tiredness. It lives in a deeper register, in the part of you that has been gripping, strategizing, managing, controlling, trying to engineer an outcome through sheer force of will and sustained effort. It is the exhaustion of someone who has been swimming against a current they do not fully understand, certain that if they just push a little harder, the water will stop pushing back. The culture we were raised in taught us that force produces results, that effort is always rewarded, that if something is not working, the solution is to try harder, plan better, want it more completely. And in certain domains of life, this is partially true. But in the domain of alignment, in the territory of receiving what the soul is genuinely meant to have, force does not work. Force creates friction, and friction delays. The law of least resistance is not a passive concept. It is one of the most active, most demanding principles in the entire architecture of spiritual alignment. To surrender is not to stop caring. It is not to become indifferent, to disengage from desire, or to pretend that what you want does not matter. Surrender is the conscious, deliberate act of trusting the intelligence of the universe more than the anxiety of your own mind. Think about what happens in the body when you stop gripping, when you release the tension that has been living in your jaw, your shoulders, the muscles around your heart. The blood moves differently. The breath deepens. The system, suddenly free of the energy required to maintain the grip, can redirect its resources toward something more productive. This is not metaphor, this is the physics of alignment made physical. Consider the image of a hand holding water. The tighter the grip, the faster the water escapes through the spaces between the fingers. The more desperately the hand closes, the less it holds. But open the hand, flatten the palm, release the tension, and the water rests there, still, held not by force, but by the simple act of offering a surface rather than a cage. What is meant for you will rest in an open hand. It cannot be forced into a closed one. When you stop forcing outcomes and begin moving in the direction of your deepest truth, when you release the attachment to a specific form of arrival and open instead to the direction, the universe can work with you in a way it cannot when you are braced against it. The things meant for you do not require your exhausting vigilance. They require your openness. And openness for someone who has been gripping for a long time is the hardest and most powerful thing in the world to practice. You are not giving up. You are giving over. And there is a vast, transformative difference between those two things. The body that knew before the mind believed. Long before you found the words for what you were feeling, your body already knew. This is not a figure of speech. This is the architecture of human intelligence, the fact that the nervous system processes information and generates knowing at a speed and depth that the rational mind cannot match. The body is not the lesser instrument. In many of the most important moments of a human life, it is the more accurate one. Think about the moments in your past when something felt wrong before you had any evidence that it was, when a relationship felt off before you could articulate why, when a decision felt right despite every rational argument against it, when you walked into a room and something shifted in your chest, a contraction or an expansion that had already told you everything you needed to know before a single word was spoken. That was not imagination. That was intelligence. An intelligence that does not use language. The soul speaks to the body first. The body speaks to the mind, and the mind, in its desperate need to verify and categorize, often interrupts the transmission before the full message has been received. This is why so many people look back at the turning points of their lives and say, I knew, but I did not trust what I knew. I waited for proof. I waited for permission. And by the time I had both, I had already lost what the knowing was trying to protect. Research into the science of intuition, including studies on what some researchers have called the heart's electromagnetic field and its role in perceiving events before they occur, increasingly points to what the mystics have always known, that the body is a sophisticated receiving instrument, not merely a vehicle for the brain's conclusions. The gut, with its complex network of neurons, is not simply a digestive organ. The heart, with its measurable electromagnetic field extending well beyond the physical body, is not simply a pump. They are receivers. They are processors. They are part of a larger sensory system that has access to information the analytical mind has not yet been trained to gather. You have been receiving transmissions, in your dreams, in your gut, in the inexplicable certainty that something is shifting even when the surface of your life appears unchanged. Your body has already registered what is coming. It has been adjusting, preparing, aligning, even as the mind was busy cataloging doubts and compiling evidence of everything that has not yet arrived. This is not a call to abandon discernment. It is a call to expand your understanding of what counts as knowing. The mind is a magnificent tool, but the soul's intelligence is older, deeper, and more directly connected to the forces that are moving through your life right now. Begin to honor both. Begin to let the body's knowing sit at the same table as the mind's analysis. What emerges from that collaboration is a kind of clarity that neither one could produce alone. The hidden pattern written across your story. Step back from the details of the last year or the last several years and do something that requires real courage. Look at the whole picture, not the individual moments of loss or confusion or disappointment, but the entire arc. Because when you are inside a story, you can only see the scene you are standing in. But the story, the full, intentional, purposeful story, has an architecture that only becomes visible when you are willing to step far enough back to see it. Every door that closed in that period, what came next? Every relationship that ended, what did it make possible? Every plan that failed, what direction did the failure redirect you toward? Every certainty that dissolved, what more honest truth did it reveal in its absence? The pattern is there. It has always been there. And once you learn to see it, you cannot unsee it. The ancient Hermetic principle of cause and effect teaches that nothing happens by accident, that every effect has a cause, and every cause sets in motion a chain of events that, viewed from a sufficient distance, reveals an unmistakable intelligence. Your life is not a collection of random events, it is a sequence. And sequences have direction, they have movement, they have a destination, even when, especially when, that destination cannot be seen from the middle of the story. What you have been calling failure, the universe has been calling redirection. What you have been calling rejection, the universe has been calling protection. What you have been calling delay, the universe has been calling calibration. The time was being used, the pain was doing work, the loss was clearing space. Not because suffering is beautiful, or because the universe is indifferent to your pain, but because the intelligence that moves through your life is not operating on the same timeline as your anxiety. There is also a dimension to this pattern that involves the people who entered and exited your life during this period. Every person who appeared, even briefly, even painfully, was part of the architecture. Some of them arrived to deliver a message to show you something about yourself that you could not have seen without the mirror they provided. Some of them arrived to remove a layer of you that was no longer serving the version of yourself you are becoming. Some of them arrived simply to be there during a particular passage, to make it survivable, and then, their purpose complete, moved on. None of these arrivals and departures were accidental. All of them were part of the same design that is now bringing you to this threshold. Sit with your story for a moment. Look at where you were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Look at what you wanted then that you did not receive. Look at what you received instead. Look at who you are now as a result. The pattern is not random. The pattern is intentional. And you, right here, right now, are not at the end of that pattern. You are at its most important inflection point yet. Gratitude as a vibrational force. Gratitude has been reduced in much of its popular usage to a morning routine, a list, a journal entry, a habit intended to shift mood. And while there is nothing wrong with any of those practices, they often miss the deeper truth about what gratitude actually is and what it actually does at the level of energetic reality. Gratitude is not a feeling you generate after good things arrive. It is a frequency you hold before they arrive that accelerates their arrival. This is not poetic license. The law of vibration, woven through every serious mystical and scientific tradition that has examined the nature of reality, teaches that everything in existence and every thought, every emotion, every physical object, every outcome exists at a particular vibrational frequency, and like frequencies attract like frequencies. This is not metaphor. It is the operating principle of the universe. When you feel genuine gratitude, not the performed version, not the list you write because you know you are supposed to, but the full-bodied, chest-opening recognition that you are already, in this moment, held by something infinitely larger than your fear. You shift your frequency. You move from the vibration of lack, of waiting, of not yet, into the vibration of abundance, of receiving, of already. And from that frequency, what is already in motion toward you has an unobstructed path. The distinction between genuine gratitude and its performance is crucial, and the body always knows the difference. Genuine gratitude feels like warmth expanding in the chest. It feels like a relaxation of the grip. It feels like a momentary, radical recognition that despite everything that is not yet here, you are already rich in ways you have been too focused on scarcity to notice. The breath of clean air, the people who have stayed, the fact that you are still here, still seeking, still asking the questions that matter. This is not nothing. This is the ground from which everything else grows. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private meditations about the practice of beginning each day with a recognition of all that is already present, not as a performance of positivity, but as a deliberate orientation of the soul toward what is real rather than what is feared. He did not practice gratitude because his life was free of difficulty. He practiced it because he understood that the mind oriented toward what it already has becomes capable of receiving more, while the mind oriented toward what it lacks becomes capable of receiving only evidence of further lack. Begin there, not at the destination, but at the ground. Not with what is missing, but with what is already extraordinary about the life you are living while you wait for what is coming. And watch how the frequency of your waiting changes. Watch how the signs become clearer, how the synchronicities intensify, how the universe, meeting you at your own frequency, begins to move more visibly, more unmistakably, toward you. The intensification. Before the threshold. There is a phenomenon that the awakened tradition has recognized across every culture, every era, every mystical lineage that has ever seriously studied the nature of transformation. It does not have a single name, but it has a single shape. Just before the breakthrough, things get harder. Just before the door opens, the walls close in. Just before the tide turns, the sea becomes most turbulent. And almost everyone, without the language to understand what is happening, interprets this intensification as confirmation that they were wrong to hope. This is the final test, and it is designed to look exactly like failure. The soul that is approaching a genuine threshold will encounter, in the days and weeks just before crossing it, a concentration of exactly the challenges it has been working to move through. Old fears resurface with new intensity. Old wounds that felt healed open again. Old patterns of doubt, contraction, and self-sabotage make their last, most persuasive arguments. And the mind, exhausted and desperate for relief, says, "See? I knew this was not real. I knew I was fooling myself. I knew I should stop hoping. But you were not fooling yourself. The intensification is not evidence against what is coming. It is evidence that you are close enough to the threshold that the forces of the old structure, the identity, the patterns, the familiar story, are making their final effort to keep you inside the life you are leaving. Change does not happen gently in the final hour. It happens with friction, with pressure, with the full weight of everything that is being released pressing against you on its way out. Think of it this way. When a fever breaks, the temperature often spikes first. The immune system's final decisive push against the illness produces the most intense heat just before the healing becomes permanent. The body does not betray you in that final spike of fever. It is completing the work, and the soul in its final push through the threshold of a major transformation does the same. The intensity is the completion, not the failure. The darkness is the last breath of the night before the dawn breaks, and the dawn does not negotiate with the darkness it simply arrives. The Hermetic principle of polarity teaches that every force has its opposite, and that the strength of the opposition is proportional to the strength of what it is opposing. In other words, the harder the final test, the greater the thing that is coming. The more intense the pressure, the closer the release. You are not being punished. You are being completed. Hold, just hold. Not with gritted teeth and desperate determination, but with the quiet certainty of someone who has finally understood what this season is for. You are almost through, and what is waiting on the other side has been worth every single moment of this. The signs you almost missed. Go back, not with shame, not with regret, but with the particular quality of attention that comes from understanding. Go back through the recent weeks and months of your life, and look again. Because there were signs. There were signs that arrived in the window between the moment your hope was still open and the moment your doubt arrived to close it. And in that window, you received something you filed away without fully understanding. The conversation you kept thinking about afterward but could not explain why. The moment of unexpected stillness in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. The one where, for just a few seconds, the noise of everything stopped, and you felt something vast and quiet pressing against the edges of your awareness. The dream that did not feel like a dream. The reading, the video, the passage in a book that seemed to be speaking not to everyone, but specifically to you. These were not random. They were the universe's correspondence, arriving through whatever channel was open at the time. And some of them you received fully, even if you did not have the language for them yet. Others you received and then immediately questioned, filed under wishful thinking, dismissed as the mind of someone who wants to believe. The angel numbers tradition, the recurring sequences of numbers that appear at moments of energetic significance, is one of the most frequently reported experiences among people in the middle of a major life transition. Numbers like 111, 333, 444, 1111. People see them on clocks, license plates, receipts, timestamps, and the consistent report across thousands of individual accounts is that they arrive not randomly, but at moments of decision, doubt, or pivotal question. The universe, using the most basic symbolic language available, the language of number, of pattern, of repetition, to say, you are seen, you are on the right path. Keep going. Beyond the numbers, there are the more personal signs, the ones that are calibrated specifically to your history, your symbolic vocabulary, your particular frequency. The animal that appears repeatedly, the color that keeps drawing your eye, the name that surfaces in 3 unrelated places within a single week. These are not coincidences wearing the costume of meaning. They are meaning wearing the costume of coincidence, waiting for the moment when you are ready to look beneath the surface and receive what they have been carrying. Have you been seeing them? Have you been noticing and then unnoticing? Have you been allowing yourself to receive the confirmation and then immediately withdrawing it, handing it back to doubt like a gift you felt too unworthy to keep? You were allowed to receive those signs. You were meant to receive them. And now, with everything you have understood in this video, you are finally equipped to receive the next ones fully, without apology, without the need for external validation, with the simple, profound certainty of someone who has finally learned to read their own sky. Why this moment was always meant to find you. You did not find this video. This video found you, and if that sentence lands in your chest rather than your mind, you already understand what it is saying at the level it was intended to be received. The mechanism through which this moment arrived is not spiritually complex. It is perfectly logical in the logic of a universe that operates through the law of attraction, which is not a concept from a self-help book, but one of the oldest, most rigorously observed principles in the cosmological understanding of how consciousness and reality interact. You attract what matches your frequency, and what matches your frequency at this particular moment, in this particular season of your soul's development, is exactly the confirmation that something great is already in motion toward you. The fact that you are here, that you did not click away in the first 30 seconds, that something in you held on and kept listening, is itself a sign. The part of you that stayed was not the part driven by casual curiosity. It was the part that recognized something. The soul does not stay for what is irrelevant to its journey. It stays for what is true. Carl Jung wrote that there are no coincidences, only synchronicities that we have not yet understood. And this moment, you, here, now, at exactly this point in your story, watching a video about signs that are already present, about the arrival of something great, is not a coincidence. It is a synchronicity. It is the meeting point between your soul's inner readiness and the universe's outer response. Consider the precise chain of events that brought you here. Every choice you made today, every slight variation in your routine, every moment of hesitation or impulse that led you to this exact video at this exact time. From the outside, it looks like the ordinary mechanics of an afternoon. From the inside, from the perspective of the intelligence that has been organizing your path, it looks like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. The universe did not place this moment on your path arbitrarily. It placed it here because you are at a point of sufficient readiness that this confirmation will land somewhere permanent, not just pass through the surface of your awareness and dissolve. You have been ready for longer than you have been willing to admit. The readiness arrived before the confidence. The alignment was in place before the certainty. And what feels from the inside like the middle of the story, this uncertain, turbulent, heavy, hoping place you are standing in, is not the middle. It is the threshold. You are at the door. And this moment, this exact moment, was always meant to find you because you were always meant to walk through what comes next. The choice that cannot be undone. Everything in this video has been moving toward this, not as a conclusion, but as an arrival. Because conclusions end things. And what is available to you right now does not end anything. It begins the most important chapter you have lived yet. There is one choice available to you in this moment. Not the choice to believe or not believe, not the choice to hope or give up hope. Those are smaller choices, surface-level choices, choices the mind makes while the soul waits for the more fundamental one. The choice available to you is this: whether to align consciously with what is already moving in your life, or to continue standing in resistance to it, gripping the wheel of a journey the universe is already navigating with a precision you cannot match. This is not a passive choice. Conscious alignment is one of the most active, most demanding, most courageous things a human being can do. It requires the daily practice of releasing what you cannot control, of trusting what you cannot yet see, of acting from the direction of your soul's deepest knowing, rather than the noise of your fears. It requires you to hold, simultaneously, the grief of what has not yet arrived and the certainty that it is on its way. It requires a kind of spiritual maturity that is not born all at once but is chosen day after day, in the small and ordinary moments where no one is watching, and the temptation to collapse back into doubt is most strong. The ancient Stoic understanding of the dichotomy of control, the clear, practiced distinction between what is within your power and what is not, meets here, at this exact crossroads, with the deepest mystical understanding of surrender. You control the quality of your attention. You control the direction of your alignment. You control the choice to trust or to contract, to open or to close, to receive or to resist. You do not control the timing. You do not control the form. You do not control the path by which what is meant for you will arrive. And the moment you release the compulsive need to control those things, the moment you place them, genuinely and finally, back into the hands of the intelligence that has been orchestrating your life with more care than you have given it credit for, something shifts, something that cannot be undone. This is the choice the soul has been waiting for you to make. Not with drama, not with ceremony, not with the performance of a person who has decided to become spiritual, with the quiet, private, bone-deep recognition that the universe has never abandoned you, that the signs have always been real, that the preparation has been intentional, and that what is coming, what has always been coming, is not contingent on your worthiness, your perfection, or your ability to hold hope without flinching. It is contingent only on your willingness to step through the door that is, right now, standing open in front of you. The signs are already here. The preparation has already happened. The threshold is already beneath your feet. And what is coming, what has always been coming, what was written into the design of your soul before you had words for any of this, cannot be stopped. It can only be welcomed. Make the choice. Not with drama, not with performance, not with the weight of trying to get it right. Make it quietly, in the space behind your eyes, in the center of your chest, where the soul lives and where it has been waiting, with extraordinary patience for exactly this moment. Welcome what is coming. You are ready. You have always been ready. And the universe, which has never stopped watching, never stopped guiding, never stopped leaving signs across the path of your life, already knows that you are finally walking through